Here we go with the Midweek Howl, the unparanormal. Boy, I'm having a rough day, just like the Browns did. But it's the non-paranormal part of the From the Shadows podcast. It's our first new episode since last week's episode got derailed by a.
Don't say it.
I won't say it. We'll just
external forces.
Yes, beyond our control.
Yep, external forces beyond our control, and we didn't want to put a product that wasn't top shelf out. You know, if there's a problem and we can't do 110% for these loyal fans, we're just not going to do it. Exactly,
and we knew because we haven't got to talk about what. What do you
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, we hadn't. You know, we had just had our 500th episode. We had our very special guest Wes Germer on, and I mean, we got tons of new listeners, tons of new followers, and I was kind of scared. I wanted us to do a new episode for the Midweek Howl.
And I said, let's just do it half-ass so the new followers know exactly what they're getting. I don't want, you know what I mean? I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. Let's just give it to them straight. This is a slot machine right here. And when you hit play on our podcast, you don't know if it's going to be win or lose, baby. So
true. You're absolutely right. But I do like to warn people that they tune in for the paranormal stuff. They don't always love the stuff you and I do. But
right.
But some people do. We certainly have a ton of loyal fans. Speaking of which, Mike in Manitoba won. I'm going to be sending him out some stuff because he correctly guessed who our 500th episode guest was. So I'm going to send something out for him. He reminded me that he's still waiting on the auger.
Well, it's because they want $185 or whatever to send it. I'll see what they say this week. Maybe. I'm trying to clean out my garage. I've been cleaning out my garage. Hey, speaking of cleaning out my garage, and I just want one of these. I don't care who you guys are. One of you faithful followers of us, reach out and listen to Tyler Mahanco's podcast. He said that he said just refer one person to me. And when I'm in the garage, I usually have one AirPod in listening, and I was listening to
is it Roses and Rhinestones, right?
Well, it's Cocaine and Rhinestones.
Cocaine and Rhinestones.
We're a family show, so yeah, let's just say
Cocaine and Rhinestones.
Yeho and Rhinestones, or anyway, not Yahweh. That's a different that's a different high right there. So
but that's a fantastic. I haven't listened to that for a while.
Now I could be a little. He had a tee up. He's doing the oh shoot, I can't even think of the song. What's the P.T.A. song? Linda.
Oh, Laura, Harper Valley.
Harper Valley P.T.A. And I guess I didn't realize. Do you know that when they cut the demo on that, what's his name? Give me the old Sun Records guy, the guy that bought Sun Records.
Oh, gosh.
The guy that.
It's terrible. I should know. I should know. I don't know.
You should know, man. He had apparently 39 number ones before he did her. He cut that, and they said he actually ran down and got. I don't understand how they used to wax cut these songs.
Oh yeah, okay.
Somehow, okay. So they put it straight. Everybody loved it, and they put it straight on the wax thing, and he ran it down. And Ralph Emery played it on the radio within a couple hours of them cutting the demo.
Sam Phillips, right? Is that Sam Phillips?
Oh,
he's the founder. He was the founder.
Yeah, but this guy made so much money with Harper Valley P.T.A. He bought Sun Records.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Because it went from they cut it in August. And by the end of September, it was gold. They had sold whatever it takes to go gold.
Shelby Singleton?
Yes.
Shelby in 1969. Right. Yeah, 1969. Mercury Records label producer Shelby Singleton purchased the Sun label from Phillips. There you go. Mm-hmm. Now it does not
say... Because he was making so much money that I tell you what, I don't know. You know how sometimes he talks about, I guess the Nashville scene, especially back then, was so. Tay, did you see who wrote it?
No, I did not.
Give me one guess. Give you one guess.
Oh, Hank Cochran.
How about Tom T. Hall?
Really? Okay, then okay. There you go.
And it sold 6 million copies, but it doesn't tell me when. Anyway, apparently he was making so much money that he was worried about the taxes, so he started. I guess his accountant said spend it, so he started buying. And one of the first things he bought the whole Sun record catalog for $1 million.
You mean the Sun record that had Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley and all that stuff?
Yep. And then by the 70s,
that's be worth.
Hey, he was talking about so many people hated him because by the 70s, as some of those old guys were dying, he was taking all this unreleased stuff. You know, I guess back in the day, you know, they cut dozens of songs and put 6 or 8 of them on an album.
Yeah.
So I guess he was hodgepodging these albums together and putting newer material out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. In the 70s, and
without probably without their consent, because he just owned the songs and just put them out.
I guess, yeah. And there's a point in there where he was getting sued by somebody, but I had some yard maintenance drama going on, and it skipped out on me. I had to. Anyway, so I missed just a hair there, but he's supposed to come out with the second week. He said, unless he gets a bunch of complaints. He talked about his father in there briefly.
He barely mentions him ever. You know,
that's right. He almost never does. And he said he didn't realize that his father he played an excerpt of an interview that his father did about Shelby. Was that the guy's name, Shelby?
Yeah, really.
And he said he didn't realize that his father was entwined with so many people. First of all, he said he knew him as an old man, not his father, but Shelby as an old man, and didn't really properly respect him until he started in the things he'd done, until he started doing this research for this episode.
Isn't that how it always is?
Because he just knew him as an old man, and age had wore him down. And he said one of the things he always remembers is when he got diagnosed with terminal cancer, he went out and bought a Rolls Royce that day because he had always wanted one, and he figured it was now or never.
Wow. And you know, Tyler Coe is one of the smartest, well-researched guys there is.
Yes.
I mean,
absolutely. Without question. You know, he's got that's right. And like most, well, I'm not even going to go down the road. I was going to say something derogatory,
but for him to say he didn't give the guy the respect that he deserved.
You mean to admit when he's wrong?
Yeah, to admit it, because he was brought up in that industry. Okay.
Yes.
He knew he knew Tanya, he knew he knew all those guys because his dad, David Allen Coe, was friends with all those guys, whether they always wanted to admit it or not. And it's the thing, like he said, he didn't understand how entwined his dad was, and me and our good buddy Wade, we always are like, amazed at the reach. Like Miranda Lambert just put out a new album and recorded a David Allen Coe song that he put out on an album in 1976. Now, how about that? And I don't
before
even know
she was even born.
Yes, definitely. And I don't even know the song. I had never even heard the song. I can't even tell you the name of it, but she recorded it and put it on her brand new album. And I'm like, now that, as much as people, didn't like David or thought he was this or thought he was that, the guy could write songs. And for a song to have been written in 1976 and be put out on an album then, it's a whole different landscape in music and what people's tastes were. And for one of the biggest stars today to take that song and put her own spin on it, that says something, I mean,
absolutely,
that's pretty legit, And
you think.
So speaking of that, so after we had that 500th episode that Friday, I finally got to meet, even though I've met him on Zoom and written with him and stuff, I got to meet Way Jennings because he was playing that Friday night near me like 15, 20 minutes away at the what do you think this was as Christy and I rolled up? The Easy Rider Festival. So
it was probably a hold on, don't tell me. It was a I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
So, well, obviously Easy Rider is the magazine for motorcycles.
Right.
Since the day. So Christy, so it's in this farmer's field, big farmer's field. And so you pull in there, and
how many people are there?
Thousands and thousands. But the real thing is there's a campground. There's I shouldn't say campground. There's a place where people have their tents and campers, and it's just packed. And not everybody who's there camping in tents was overwatching the concert, even though there's a couple thousand people there, and the stage is up there, and the Easy Rider booth, and there's a bunch of booths and stuff. It was kind of a neat setup. But as we're walking up there, here's Christy and I in the dark, and we're coming up to the back of the stage, and on the stage is a Kid Rock, tribute band. Okay, it's standing behind the stage in the dark, in nothing but black chaps, a leather vest, and a cowboy hat, is this girl practicing with a whip.
Now, when you say nothing but, you mean nothing but.
In the dark, it was nothing but chaps. I mean, she had cowboy.
What kind of whip? Like a bull whip or
like
a buggy
bull
whip?
Like a bull whip, and she's snapping it, and I'm like, is this part of the?
And you're still in was the honeymoon phase over for you all right there? Did she say, what the heck?
No, Christy's looking like, what the heck is going on? Like, she's amazed at it too. Like, what is going on? Like, what are we walking up into? And so we get up there, and we're behind there, and another musician, Charlie Bonnet, came back, and he and I had written some stuff, and we kind of talked. Then Way came back, and it was good to meet him. And so, but we walked around to the front of the stage, and Way's wife had his merch stand there. So we stood there just off the side of the stage to watch the concert until Way got up. And here, this girl was part of a group of other girls. There's like 5 or 6 that they are an act. Like, they go up
and they whip. What do they whip?
Well, they did. She did the whip. They had a ring that they put fire on, and they did like trapeze.
Some lasso stuff too, or not? Oh, trapeze.
They just did all kinds of stuff. They rode a bike and did all, and twirled, and I'm like, what is going on? Christy was amazed. I mean, she's like, that's pretty impressive. And she goes, her quote was, and the girls were all built to be wearing what they were wearing.
Oh, they were?
Okay. Well, so she thought it was cool. I was just like, I don't know what's going on. But the cools, we stood there, and I, said hi to Way's wife, and she introduced herself. And then this girl came over to Christy that was working.
Whip girl.
Another girl. No, not the whip girl. The whip girl kept walking by us after, but a girl helping at the merch stand steps over to Christy, and she goes, I just wanted to tell you, I thought you were Reese Witherspoon when you first walked up here.
And she said, I actually am, but don't tell anybody. This is my natural hair color.
Well, Christy goes, I get that. I've gotten that a lot over the years.
She didn't say, I'm her stand-in, I'm her body double, I'm her stunt girl. You still there? I lost you. Where'd you go? I don't hear you. Oh, I got a short in my headset. Hold on, I'm going to have to pull it off and go radio. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I guess. I tell you, remember I had problems with that headphone a while back, and I got it to work? I just threw it in the trash just now.
See, that's the behind the scenes that people don't get on it just every other
I just
podcast.
threw it in the trash. Yeah, I was trying to save $14 or whatever it cost me to, with this economy and stuff. I didn't want to spend it. I don't know where the world's going. And $14 to buy me 5 or 6 chickens. So I guess
so. Anyway,
throw the eggs and get a headset to do better next week.
So anyway, Chrissy used to get that a lot, that she looked like Reese Witherspoon when she lived out in California.
Well,
because everybody's looking to see if somebody's famous or whatever, and that must have been the closest person they could pick.
Well, that ain't
her
bad.
out.
I mean, that ain't bad. Yeah. People tell me I look like John Candy all the time. So
I had somebody once tell me I look like Dan Aykroyd. I don't know how.
I'm not seeing that whatsoever, but that's okay.
But I will say this. So I did get a text from a good friend of the podcast, Mr. Stacy Brown.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So from our last episode where you came up with the brilliant idea of the alligator that attacks Cleveland.
No, I said walleyes. Let's change it to walleyes.
Oh, we changed it to walleyes.
Yes, walleyes.
Okay. Well,
the ice breaks out and gets them, and they're ice fishing.
Well, Stacy Brown, though,
I like the Meg. Did you see the Meg with the rock in it?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so the Meg is anyway. Just watch the Meg, and then let's just do that with walleyes and Cleveland. But go ahead.
Well, but Stacy Brown wants to purchase the rights to. He's going to call it Street Gator, and he's going to call it Street Gator.
Sell it?
And I haven't yet.
I tell him I want $18.85 because that's what a 30 pack of Sprite is up to at Sam's. So, and I got to buy one tomorrow. So,
well, I figured I would talk to you first.
You're going to broker that deal for us.
Well, yeah, but his idea was, instead of having Baker Mayfield save Cleveland, he's going to have Johnny Manziel save Cleveland, and then that would lead to the sequel.
That's why he's the producer and we're the writers, right there.
Well, but because of the Johnny Manziel angle, he has a sequel already in mind called Crack Gator. So there you go.
I thought Johnny was off of it. I can see I can see it right now. The we got to do it the first weekend of the month. So, I mean, the movie's got to take place in the first weekend of the month because that's a drill weekend for the guard. And somebody gets a case of grenades, and you got Manziel out there throwing the grenades to keep the gators or walleye or whatever else off with that arm of his, zigging and zagging through the zombies, pitching them grenades. I love it.
Yeah. Now you just got to keep in mind, though, Stacy, he's searching for a little something to do because Florida State has totally crapped their season away.
They've only played 2 games, haven't they?
They're 0-2. They're 0-2. Florida State is. So he's a little bit bummed out.
My son's high school team is 2-0. They put up 35 points on the last 2 people they played this week, last night and last week. So, or Friday night and last Friday night. So,
is he getting to play varsity?
He is.
And he's only a freshman, right? Or is he a sophomore?
He's a sophomore. And let me tell you, the guy that was across from him the other day, 6'7", 310.
What?
The guy that was across from him on the opposing team had 3 linemen that was 300 pounds. And the one across from my little baby boy was 6'7", 310, I think that's what it said.
And you guys still beat him by 35 points?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So how did he do against the bigger guys?
Well, he did okay because, I think because he's younger, he was scared, so he had a little more speed.
Yeah.
And you tell me this now. They had, we're a run heavy team because our coach is old. And it was like some of those guys couldn't catch those some of the smaller running backs we had, or even our you know what I mean? It was like they couldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We have this argument, the school where where Izzy goes, they have a kid. He's about 6'6", 6'7". He's about 280. He's getting looked at by a lot of teams as a lineman or whatever, but he cannot block. He has a very hard time blocking somebody 6 foot tall or 5'10". And there's a reason that those people are just quicker than him. You know what I'm saying? Now that's a one-on-one situation at the high school level. Of course, you can't put a 5'10" guy on the line against Wisconsin.
Well, I think what I was saying, it was like when our line pushed him out of the way, we got a running back that would be Adrian Peterson's twin brother back in the day. Okay. And let me tell you something. If they give him 6 inches, he's going to get by him. Does that make sense? So it was like these giant linemen knew where the ball was going, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't in that. You only got 2 or 3 seconds, right, to react. You don't
even have that long.
It was like they just couldn't quite. Now they stopped him a bunch of times, but there was a bunch of times it didn't. They just.
Yeah, there's a lot to go in that, and those guys probably played both ways, I would guess, and they probably get tired and worn out.
Oh, they were so worn out at the end of by the end of the by the fourth quarter. They were. I actually felt sorry for them. Somebody said, "I can't believe you'd say that." And I felt sorry for these kids because they came out. They thought the problem is they turned the ball over the first 2 plays they had. The first they got the ball, and on the second, they got the kickoff. And on the second play, they turned it over.
Oh, boy.
Okay. And then that's okay because when we got the ball, our first play, we turned it over. Does that make sense? So we've had 3 plays and 2 we had. And guess what? They turned it over again. So in the first 4 plays of the game, the ball switched, 3 times.
Well, that's what's great about high school football. Hey, look, at least they're not Florida State or Notre Dame.
Hey, I read where Notre Dame paid $1.4 million to play that school. How does that happen?
So big schools need to have a preseason schedule, and typically, Akron coming to Ohio State or Western Michigan coming to Ohio State, you got to pay these teams to come.
I did not know that. Just because they won't come because they're out of conference or because they get their ass kicked, or what do you mean? Why would they have to pay them?
Yeah, you're basically paying them to take a butt whipping is what you're doing. I mean, it's been that way forever. Yeah, you got to pay. If you're a good team, you're going to have to pay these smaller teams or mid majors to come play you. Now, what Notre Dame wasn't expecting was that Northern Illinois was going to cash that check and beat them on
come to play. Right? They didn't know they were going to come to play.
But that's the when you play some of those. I mean, this day of the portal and people changing schools and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good players that don't get to go to Notre Dame because there's people transferring there, and there's people, and the COVID thing is we're still seeing the effects of people, playing 7-8 years. I mean, that one guy, that tight end for Miami.
Yeah, I heard somebody that was a super senior, 7th, and I was like, "What do you mean? They let him play longer because of COVID?"
Well, you got COVID year, yeah. You had another year because of COVID. So then then like that guy, I believe he got hurt twice and petitioned to get an extra year because he was hurt. So, it wasn't, there was special circumstances.
So if you get hurt, they don't hold that year against you?
You have to petition the NCAA. Okay. Now you could take a medical red shirt, but I think that would be and traditionally that would be the same as just getting redshirted. I don't know if they've changed that where you can get a redshirt year and a medical redshirt. But either way, if you get hurt, you can petition the NCAA and say, "Hey, look, I broke my leg on the 3rd series of the first game. I didn't have a chance to play, in the NCAA." It's just depends when you do it and what the circumstances are. But the earlier in the year you get hurt, the easier it's going to be to get a waiver from the NCAA to get an extra year.
Hey, before I forget, before we get off football, did those trade portals? I don't understand this. What do they call it? Not the trade portal, but where they're making money now. Some of these kids are making money. What's that called? It's got to be on your end. I can't hear you. It's got to be on your end.
Hello?
Now you're back.
I'm back. I don't know what's going on. No, NIL is
name, the whole
image,
time?
And likeness. Yeah, I can hear you the whole time. I don't know what's going on.
I guess my question is, do some of those kids are getting paid? Does college kids get agents now?
High school kids get agents now.
Oh, that's a great
Absolutely. I mean, there's some of the best high school kids have agents or managers, I guess you would be a better term. I don't know that they can still have sports agents, but they can have managers to manage their NIL.
Their affairs.
Yep. Because what happened is, you'd walk into Ohio State into the gift shop and you could buy a CJ Stroud jersey. Okay. People were buying that jersey because it was CJ Stroud's number. Well, he doesn't get any money for that.
Right.
And so they kind of, they sued they kind of formed some kind of collective bargaining.
Thanks to Johnny Manziel.
And was it Johnny?
Well, hey, didn't you see that? I mean, you watched the documentary about him, right?
Yeah. Is that what he did? I don't even remember.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because they one of his defense to NCAA was, they made, I think they said they brought $800 million. They got a whole new stadium. What's a 110,000 person stadium cost?
A lot of money. A lot of money.
It's the house that Johnny built.
Well, I saw some headlines this week that made me think of you, and I figured maybe you have a story about this. Okay. But did you see the headlines? The Alabama state trooper who a couple years ago pulled a woman over for speeding. And now the story goes that he kind of, he sensed something was wrong with her. She must have broke down crying. And she confessed that, she, was 21, didn't, hated the job she was in, didn't know it was a dead end, just hated her life, and just everything was terrible. And apparently he took the time to stand there and talk to her, give her some good advice that changed her. I think he let her go. He let her go, but I don't think it's. But here she's graduating with her nursing degree. She took his advice, went home, took his advice, changed her career, and is now going to be a nurse.
No, that's not. I did not read that story.
So, well, it made me wonder. At
least it was a good story. Did I ever change anybody's life? If that's what you're wondering about?
Yeah. Do you ever remember?
Traditionally, I had a thing that if you started crying, you got a ticket. And I would tell them that you cry, you get a ticket, lady. I don't know what's going on, but if you're crying, you're getting a ticket. I'll tell you one, and this is terrible. This is a bad story on me. Okay. I stopped the gal one day. It was on a state holiday, and she was going 85 or 86 and 55. And I pulled her over, and she come unglued on me. And she was a civilian employee for the Highway Patrol.
Oh my God. Okay.
And she was crying, and this is before she told me. I didn't know. She didn't tell me she worked for the Highway Patrol until I started writing the ticket. Okay.
All right.
So it's not like she threw that up there right off the bat, but she said, I'm going to work, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, and I'm like, lady, it's a state. I didn't argue with her. I wrote her the ticket. And then she started bawling, said she worked for the Highway Patrol. She had a lot of stuff going on in her life. But, you couldn't even imagine all the stuff she just started. She just come to pieces. And I said, it's a holiday. No, they got us working overtime. So, and she knew my little brother because she asked me, I think right off the bat, she asked me about my little brother. And that was kind of a deal too, if you know what I mean? Depending on who you ask, don't drop names to me or whatever. So plus 86 and 55, I mean, that's kind of cooking, right? I was giving her 30 miles an hour over. So anyway, make a long story even longer. She was right. They had to do data entry for overtime if they worked their holiday. So she was going to work. And my little brother, I tell him, man, my little brother says, somehow the rumor mill got back within days. He was saying, hey, you wrote so-and-so ticket. I said, yeah. And he goes, yeah, her husband just died. And I said, husband? She's only like 26. He goes, yeah, she got married 6-8 months ago and a tree fell on him and got killed. I was like, oh my God, I would have never wrote her that ticket if she'd have told me all that.
Oh my God. So did that change your stance on crying and getting a ticket?
No, but I had one other. I only let one other person off who was crying one time. I stopped a gal who happened to be an attorney, which is probably more than the crying, because when you write lawyers' tickets, it's just worthless sometimes, right? Because they went to high school with or law school with the prosecutor. It's just you're not doing anything in the world unless they get, DWI is one thing, but just a plain old ticket. I let them go because otherwise they fought it. You know what I mean?
You wasted your ink.
That's exactly right. And I told her off the bat, she was driving. I remember like the day, it was yesterday because I had a guy riding with me who's now a sergeant. But at the time he was a part-time, he was 19-year-old, 18. Well, he's probably 19 or 20. But he'd worked every summer in the maintenance garage washing cars. He always wanted to ride along. Mike is his name. And he goes, oh, man, let's go write some tickets. And it was lake traffic, summertime like now. It was an Audi, big body Audi A8, which is a big old sports car.
Yeah.
Back then, big old, murdered out, blacked out windows, white. I can tell you I can show you the place I run her down at. Because as she went by me, this is 4-lane highway, 70 mile an hour with big grass median. Now you can't do it because they got wires and shit, cables, in the highway. But back then they didn't have them cables. And I turned on my alley light to the left as she was going by, so I knew what kind of car it was. Went down through the grass, run her down, and she was a half-ass balling anyway. And I told her right off the bat, I said, you start crying, you're getting a ticket. And she goes, well, write me that ticket, trooper, because I ain't going to quit crying. And I said, it's just a ticket. And she goes, I don't give a shit about your ticket. I'm crying because I'm having a personal problem with my boyfriend. So she told me right off the bat she wasn't crying because of the ticket.
Oh gosh. So she was speeding because of the boyfriend too? She
was, I guess, trying to get down the lake. I didn't fill her with a lot of questions. I took her license, wrote a warning. We had these little warning slips and let her go. And Mike ragged at me for not writing her a ticket. So,
What's Mike doing today?
He's a sergeant on a highway patrol, so his world revolves around tickets. But
and you just taught him a valuable lesson. It don't matter. Just write the ticket.
Well, I mean, I just let her go because, she was a lawyer. She didn't care. She wasn't crying to get out of the ticket. She was crying because she had other issues. And,
Oh, man. Well, look, those A8s, man, those suckers flew.
I was telling my brother, we had a police officer get killed in a car wreck last week down here, right? Within 10 miles of my house.
Oh, really? Was he on duty or off?
Girl, yeah, she was on duty. There was a car chase. She was the second car. It was a pursuit. They went outside. They chased this Camaro, some punk 20. If you get on Lake Expo or the Lake News thing, the local thing, you'll see it. You'll see a picture of him in jail. He was in a Camaro, and I don't know what the first patrol car was, but she was in one of those Explorers. 2024 Explorer, and I think she's 36 years old with 6 kids, and she went off the road to the left and went into a tree and caught on fire. So,
oh man, that's terrible.
I know. And I was just telling my little brother, I don't see it, not to second guess anything, but there's absolutely no, these SUVs these guys got now, they're not things you can chase people in. Under almost no circumstance would you ever chase a sports car with a freaking Ford Explorer.
It wouldn't handle as well, right? I mean,
no, not on 2-lane blacktop where they crashed. It wouldn't handle anywhere. And my brother said something about that, and I said, I had a couple, and one of them was I turned around on a brand. It was new at the time when the Camaros came back out in like 93, 4, 5. Remember when when they first came out?
Yeah.
They quit making them for a few years, and then they come out with that real like nose down look. I turned around on one coming down here on 54. I turned around on one, and they looked over at me when I was going through the grass. And I never saw them again.
Jeez, they took off that fast
because they were committed and running immediately. Because see, when you go ahead to turn around, they were 80 some 90 miles, 80, 90. I don't remember. I knew they were running. Because they a lot of times when you look across the grass or you look at them, people hit the taillights. When you look in your mirror as the cop, you see them riding their taillights. They know you're turning around, right?
And this guy wouldn't stop in front.
They just took off. Yeah, they were already going 85, 90 mile an hour, whatever they were. I had to go through the median and come back out on their side. So now I'm going, at 60 miles an hour, they're going 55 feet a second. Okay. So you know, in a minute or two, they're going, you know, 3,000 feet. You know, so it only takes them about 60 some seconds at 60 miles an hour to go a mile. So in that minute or two, it takes me to go down through the grass, come out and get up to the same speed, right? So I have to get up to 85 just to break even with them. They're already a mile and a half, 2 miles ahead of me.
Holy smokes.
And that's what I'm saying. And if they're committed and they get on it, and then I had another one up by the Tanglewood Golf Course on 54. I know this. I can show you this place like it was yesterday too. And this was a big old Chrysler 300 with some fat white guys. Been like me and you riding in there.
Okay.
In broad daylight, lake traffic, Friday afternoon. I checked them out of the front antenna like at 90 miles, 89, 90 miles an hour. And I checked them out of the back antenna because we have an antenna out the front and antenna out the back. They were already up like 106, 107 going out the back antenna. So they had actually looked across the grass and seen me, and they already got on it.
And sped up?
Yes, they were already speeding up. I was checking them out the back window. They were same deal. I went through the grass and turned around and never saw them again. Because there's a couple of exits. There's some places they could have got off, or maybe they just ran all the way down, you know. Who knows?
Good Lord. I mean, is that something where you radio ahead and hope there's somebody?
I didn't because I don't want everybody to know somebody's getting away from me. I got some personal pride, dude. I ain't got to get a damn manhunt going over a freaking speeding ticket.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the From the Shadows podcast. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.